Recording in progress.
Welcome, everyone. Here we are, the start of a new year, the first Land Use Committee meeting of this term. It's our regularly scheduled meeting, first Tuesday of the month. I'm Andrea Kelly. I'm the chair. With us here in the chamber tonight, we have Councillor Allison Leary from Ward 1, Councillor Tariq Lucas from Ward 2. I'm from Ward 3. On Zoom, we have Councillor Randy Block from Ward 4. We have our new member, Julie Irish from Ward 5. Welcome, Julie, to your first Land Use Committee meeting. From Ward 6, also first meeting is Sean Roach. Welcome, Sean. We do not right now have a member from Ward 7, but hopefully he will show up. And from Ward 8, Stephen Farrell. We are really lucky tonight to have quite a few of staff members from Planning and Law present in the chamber. I'll start with our clerk, Katie Holden. This will be her last meeting with us, though, unfortunately. Sorry to lose her, but she's happily moving on to something good for herself. From the Planning Department, we have Sandria Berman here, and we have Katie Wewell, who is our new Acting Director of Planning and Development, a new title for Katie. And Kat Kemet is also on Zoom with us from the Planning Department, and in the chamber is Jonah Temple from the Law Department. We have a pretty light agenda tonight, only 3 items. The first one I think will go quickly. Let me just explain what's going to happen with that. It's item number 15-26, which is a request to exceed FAR and to extend a non-conforming front setback at 355 Walnut Street. That petitioner was unable to be here. The public hearing is open. We're opening that tonight. If there's anyone who wants to speak to that, we're happy to hear you, but this item will be held and will come back to us another night. So we're not even having a presentation, but because the public hearing was opened, I want to be sure that if there's anybody who came either in person or on Zoom for that meeting, that they have a chance to speak. Is there anybody in the chamber who wants to speak on that? No, is there anyone on Zoom who wants to speak to that petition at 355 Walnut Street? And if not, that's fine, because this project will come back to us and you'll have a chance at another time. So right now I'll entertain a motion from Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. First comments of the year from the committee. And because of that, I will move to hold and keep the public hearing open.
Thank you. All in favor of keeping the public hearing open, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. And we a motion to hold this item to another time also. I think we can do that on a voice vote also. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I do not hear anybody opposed. That item is held. Moving on to the second item, which our second item of the year of 2026, number 13-26, a request to amend a special permit number 216-88 to extend a non-conforming front setback for an automotive service station canopy, and to amend special permit number 305-82 to replace the existing freestanding sign and other waivers from the sign regulations at 14 Elliott Street. This is, as some of us refer to it, the Sunoco station. Would you like to speak to that, sir, at the microphone?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My name's
Sorry, make sure the microphone is on at the base.
okay. Are you not hearing me through the mic?
No.
I was just too far away.
Yes, now we can. Thanks. Just give
Okay.
us your name and address.
Yeah, my name's Mark Smith, professional engineer with CMG. It's 67 Hall Road in Sturbridge. They didn't hear me now.
Sturbridge, you've come all the way to Newton for
Yeah.
this.
I'm also here with Ed Negotian, the longtime owner and operator of the Sunoco station.
Great. Tell us what you'd like to tell us about this proposal.
Okay, so I guess I can share my screen. Let me give that a shot. This kind of technology for me. So send request.
Ms. Berman, we'll get to you second this time, just because he was ready to go.
Oh, Can I, do I need to do anything else here to share?
We don't see it yet.
Okay, let's see.
Have you joined the Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as
Oh,
I
great.
said, I'm just a little new with this, so, okay, there you are. So, okay, so we're here for, to amend two special permits related to the filling station canopy and the signage. The reason we're requesting these amendments is the station has a very old image. It's many different generations, many different styles, et cetera. So the goal here is to create a comprehensive, cohesive, much better looking modern image. So first, I'll orientate us very quickly. Okay, so this is the filling station. This is the canopy. You can barely see the building there because it's got a gray roof. This is Boylston Street, and this is Elliott Street. This is the CVS, and their cannabis dispensary is right there. Let's see. So then so this is our plan set, and this is the site the location, and let me just blow that up just a little bit. Okay, so this is what I just showed. This is the filling station building. This is the canopy. And the canopy that we're proposing is going to go back in the exact same location as far as its relationship to Elliott Street. All we're requesting, and that's why we need the modification, is to extend the canopy 3 feet in the northerly direction, right there, and 3 feet in the southerly direction.
Mr. Smith, can you enlarge that image a little bit so that it's easier for people to see? That looks better. It does. Thank you. And if you use your cursor, that helps us too.
Okay, so as I was saying, this is the filling station building. There'll be some signage that I'll show some elevations on over here and on the front. This is the canopy. Proposed canopy is shown in brown, and the outline of the existing canopy is by this dashed line. So you can see that we're going to want to extend it 3 feet and south. The ground sign that or the freestanding sign that we're also in here for an amended special permit for is right here in the corner of the property. And you'll see when we get to discussing the signs that there's a fence, a solid screen fence right here along the northern side of the property. It has some gas station signs on it. So let me, so I'm not that familiar with this technology. So, all right. So, yeah. So, this is a comparison. I'm going to have to shrink this a little bit so that we can, kind of in my own way here, I guess. So I apologize. So you find the right sign. I'm going to make this 30. Okay, so first we'll just run through the canopy very quickly. This is the existing elevation of the canopy on the north end. It's got a big Sunoco sign on it. What we're proposing is down below, and that's going to be the pattern for all these elevations. We'll show the existing up top and the proposed down below. So this Sunoco sign here will be removed, and the new canopy will have the more modern, what they call the Sunoco diamond on the end of the canopy. And after I show these line drawings, I can show a quick color elevation of what this is actually going to look like. So facing the street currently is the Sunoco image that's very heavy on NASCAR. It's got kind of a checkered flag and rainbow colors, and some words over here about being the fuel supplier for NASCAR. The new image is just a Sunoco word mark and a yellow arrow. Also, there's currently an ad sign on the end of the aisle here. That'll be removed. The new style is to have the local ad signs for specials mounted on the canopy columns. So that's what we show right here. On the building, that's where we're, I think, really cleaning up the signage. Once again, the north elevation showing the existing building is here where my cursor is. It's got this pylon, basically a chimney. It's got a lot of signs on it. We're going to get rid of those. It's got that same NASCAR checkered flag and color bands. Those will be removed. All that we're going to keep on that north side is the advertising sign mounted on the side of the building. On the front of the building, same thing. You've got that checkered flag look, the rainbow. There's a banner for state inspections, and a Sunoco logo, word mark. That also will be cleaned up. Once again, no signs on the chimney up top. Get rid of that banner and put some proper signage, non-illuminated, on the fascia, just saying exactly what the building does. It's got a small snack shop and state inspections. I also show a color elevation so you can see what these actually will look like. And then the final group is the freestanding sign, which is currently a little bit of a hodgepodge. It's got the Sunoco diamond and then some price signs and a state inspection sign mounted on the side. The new sign will be much more organized. It's actually a smaller sign, same height, but smaller square footage. And that's just a twin pole sign with the logo and the price sign, and then also advertising the inspections and the snack shop. The final signage is that fence that I mentioned before. Currently, it has the gas station signs on it, air machine, oil change, vacuum, and inspections. It also has 3 other signs on it. And under our proposal, we'd like to keep the gas station signs, but we're going to get rid of those advertising signs that were on the fence. Okay, so now this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the signs actually look like. On the ground sign that I mentioned before, it's not all illuminated. This came from the UDC. A standard Sunoco sign, this whole white panel would be illuminated. But after discussion with the UDC, we're going to black that out so that the only sign that's illuminated is the Sunoco triangle. And same thing with the state inspections and the snack shop. And then, of course, like a typical filling station sign, only the prices are illuminated on the price sign. And then as I mentioned before, we're going to get rid of this banner that's on the front of the building, get rid of that entirely. And the only signage on the building is going to be the snack shop and state inspections. That's what that will look like. And then, as I mentioned, just to give you an idea of what the canopy signs will look like, it has a kind of a dimly lit band, and then the Sunoco triangle or diamond gets illuminated, and the Sunoco word with the yellow arrow gets illuminated. And once again, there were some additional signs that were proposed by Sunoco, but at the request of UDC, we've eliminated them. So we're only proposing the signs that I just went through. So overall, it's a reduction in the total number of signs and the total square footage of signs. And in the end, I think it's going to give a much more cohesive, updated image, get rid of a lot of that old stuff that's been out there for a long time and it's kind of mismatched. So,
Is that all set,
any
Mr. Smith? You'll still be here if we have more questions? All set?
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear from the planning department. Before we do that, I just want to welcome Brian Golden, who has just joined us. He's a new city councilor from Ward 7 and member of the Land Use Committee. On Zoom, we also have two other counselors, not members of the Land Use Committee, but welcome counselors Pam Wright and Julia Maliki. And we've also been joined by our new planning staff member, Zach Melcher, online. So we got a full house tonight. Planning. Ms. Berman, thank you.
Madam Chair. Everyone can hear me. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for your presentation. Good evening, everyone. Sandria Berman for the City of Newton. I'm going to proceed. Oh, sure. Can you hear me now? I'll do my best to speak a little bit louder. So we have before us again petition 13-26. It's a special permit site plan approval to amend special permit 216-88 to extend a non-conforming front setback by raising an existing canopy and constructing a new canopy, to allow for an oversized secondary sign and to allow for multiple secondary signs, and to waive the maximum aggregate square footage, as well as to amend special permit 305-82 to replace the existing freestanding sign with a new oversized freestanding sign. As you'll see here from the aerial view, the subject property is located in a Business 2 district at the intersection of Route 9 and Elliott Street. The subject property abuts a commercial multi-tenanted plaza to the east, which includes an additional parking area for multiple businesses. The site is improved with an automotive service and gas station that has been in continuous operation since 1930. The neighborhood consists of mixed commercial and residential uses. And to the east and north, our properties are zoned with Business 2 with a multi-residence transit overlay, and it's improved with commercial uses, including small retail and automotive service and gas. To the north and west, our areas zoned multi-residence 1 and 2 with a multi-residence transit overlay and are improved with a mix of single, two-family, and multifamily dwellings. And finally, to the south are several abutting districts, including manufacturing, public open space, and multi-residence 2 districts with both residential and commercial uses. Again, the zoning relief requested are to amend special permits 216-88 and 305-82 to allow an oversized freestanding sign, to allow multiple secondary signs, to allow an oversized secondary sign, and to waive the maximum aggregate square footage for gas station signs. In terms of criteria to consider when approving a special permit, that the site in the Business 2 zone is an appropriate location to allow for the proposed changes to the canopy and the signage on site, that the proposed changes to the canopy and signage do not adversely affect the neighborhood, that the proposed canopy and signage will not be a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians as designed, that access to the sites over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, and that the nature of the use of the premises, the architecture of the building, or its location with reference to the street is such that exceptions to the requirements for the freestanding sign and secondary signage should be permitted if in the public interest. And finally, that the proposed extension of the existing non-conforming front setback is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming front setback is to the neighborhood. Some thoughts from the planning department. We note that the proposed canopy and signage are consistent with the intent of the city's zoning ordinance per 5.2.1, offering an improvement to the attractiveness of the business area while preserving the use and improving the signage legibility for safety of vehicular and pedestrian traffic on site. That the proposal provides an overall reduction in signage from the existing 27 signs to 24 signs. That the proposed signage project as designed was issued an approval from the Urban Design Commission. The proposed 16-foot freestanding sign will also be in compliance with the 16-foot maximum height allowed by right per the Newton zoning ordinance, as well as what was approved originally in special permit 305-82. That the proposed freestanding sign of 54 square feet will provide an overall reduction in size from the existing freestanding sign of 72.6 square feet, and will be closer to compliance with the maximum allowed by right of 35 square feet. And finally, that the requested relief to further extend the existing non-conforming 7-foot front setback for the construction of a wider canopy does not result in further reduction of that 7-foot setback. That concludes the planning presentation, and I'm happy to take and answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Berman. Now we'll go to the public hearing part and see if there are any members of the public who would like to speak to this, ask questions or make comments. I don't see anyone in the chamber, or is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak to this? Again, I don't see anyone, but if you're there and you change your mind, raise your hand and we'll come back to you. We'll take it into committee for questions and comments now. Councillor Leary.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of questions, but Mr. Smith and Mr. Negosian, I think it's a nice improvement. I like the way that you're making it cleaner, a cleaner look and less busy. My only real issue is, the residential area on the other side of the gas station. We did get an email with some concerns about, any illumination that could possibly go off-site. It doesn't look like there's going to be any, but I wanted to ask if the canopy lights were going to be a brighter wattage or illumination than what you currently have now.
No, they would be similar, and I'm actually going to look over at the owner here. Are you already LED with your new? Okay, so they already currently have LED lights there now. And I don't know the exact kind of lighting that's there now, but I know that the new lighting, it's flush with the deck. It doesn't drop down like the old kind. So it cuts off very close to the edge of the canopy. That's one of the big benefits of the LED lighting.
Okay, because I know we do have also an ordinance around letting light go outside the site.
Right.
So I'm sure that would have been caught by.
Yeah, and so, we've done a number of these, and you can do a lighting plan. It's a point-by-point foot candle plan, and with the new LED lighting, you can cut, once you get outside the canopy, you're, down to 1 or half a foot candle, like almost immediately. You have a real square cutoff.
So there'll be no light that
No,
will bother
there
any
won't
of the
be light
residential.
spillage. No,
Okay.
it's not like the old kind of lights that used to hang down.
Okay, and just my other question, I was just curious, why did, on your canopy sign, why did you lengthen it north and south? Was there a
The
reason for that?
canopy?
Yeah,
Yeah. Currently, it's a full serve gas station, and they've been operating it a long time. And if you ever go there, you have the 3 pumps, and it's so close that the attendant has to constantly coach people to pull up close to almost bumper to bumper to the people.
yeah, I
it's-
have
it's-
gotten gas there, but
Yeah.
now I have an EV, so I won't be
Yeah,
going back.
and so we knew it's a small site, but just giving
Yeah.
it that 3 feet in each direction, that's instead of being, 6 inches from the car.
So it's
front-
maneuvering room? Is that
Pardon
what
me?
it's like more maneuvering room?
Yeah,
for-
right, that 6 feet goes right directly to the pump spacing. So now the cars,
Okay.
instead of being almost touching each other, you've got some space. We think it'll be a lot better for the attendant, who can go back and forth, and also make it a lot easier for the customers, because they're not going to have to inch up right behind the guy in front of them.
And keeps the rain off them too.
Oh, yeah, a little more coverage, sure. Of course.
Those are my questions. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. And I agree completely with Councillor O'Leary on most of this. Just curiosity, is the space between the pumps being widened? Or they will stay the same?
They're being widened a couple feet.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
to meet with what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so that's where we're, as she mentioned, we get a little we can still spread them a couple feet in each direction and still have some coverage on them.
I personally thank you for that.
Yeah, it was very tight, yeah.
All set, Councillor Farrell? Okay, Councillor Roach.
So the thing that strikes me about the residents' comment is that the orientation of this station, or at least the graphics of this station, are not towards motorists, but actually towards the residents and towards the parking lot, CVS parking lot. So the primary, because the long end is facing the Elliott Street residents and the parking lot, that's where the predominant graphic representations, the prominent advertising. I will note that if we look at the permit plan, and I'll just raise it up so you can see it. The existing canopy sign, so that the top part has no illumination at all, and that the proposed, and you're calling it the west elevation, I assume that that's the elevation that the residents face, has illuminated copy, illuminated chevrons, and an illuminated band. So all of those elements are new illumination, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it just strikes me that's new illumination to the residents without any commercial benefit, because I drove by this afternoon, and you cannot see that face of the canopy from the street, not from Route 9, not from Elliott Street until you're right on top of it. So I would request that illumination not be part of the signage, because there's no obvious benefit that I can see to the station, and then that just is illumination into the residents.
So we're talking about the side of the canopy that faces Elliott Street.
What I would consider the long edge,
Yeah, it's parallel to Elliott Street. It faces
Yep.
Elliott Street.
Yep.
It's right along it.
Because that's actually new, as according to this plan.
Right, there's graphics on it now, but it doesn't glow.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to, obviously, maybe,
Would you like to consult with Mr. Negoshian about that? How he feels about that recommendation?
Good evening.
Hi.
So it's on the traffic side of the road side, so that's why Sunoco wants to make it that way.
No, I understand that. And I think that in a station that is not kind of oriented the way your station is, that long end would typically be on a noticeable to traffic, but you can't see that sign. You can't see that side from Route 9. You can only really see it from the Elliott Street
Yes,
residents, and it'll only be visible to motorists for a very short period. So the benefit, the commercial benefit seems very low, and the impact on the residents seems very high.
okay, so they were taking it off the ends and switching it to the sides. I'm sure it's not a problem, put it on the ends. if
Right.
That's better.
I think the ends would make more sense, because that's what's facing the traffic as opposed to the
Yeah,
residents.
I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
talked about is that side there.
Right.
Not being illuminated because it's going to bother neighbors here.
Yeah, I understand.
So that would be acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're an easy day.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions from counselors? Counselor Irish, this is in your ward. I wonder if you have anything to ask or say about it. We usually go to the ward counselor at some point.
Oh,
just to see
thank
what
you
your
very
thoughts
much.
are.
No, I am very familiar with this location, as it is just down the street from me. I agree that it will be improvement from the existing in terms of the attractiveness from the street. And my only other question, but I think it was addressed by Councilor Leary, was about the illumination under the canopy, if that would be changed at all. And that was my concern of whether that would be seen or proceed from to the residents, or the roadway as additional light. But I think that sounds like that'll be kept within and will not be sort of reaching out beyond that. So no, I'm looking forward to improve and the flow of the traffic, which existing does create a little bit of the traffic being jammed up and people can't pull up enough, having experienced that many times. So I think this will be improvement in actually safety, and extending the length where they can pull up. So look forward to the changes.
Thanks for now. I'll come back to you for a motion. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Oh, Counselor Block. Sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Sorry I can't be there. I'm battling a cold.
We're
Um,
happy that you did not bring those germs into the chamber.
Well, I think they're probably there one way or the other, but um,
Get
I'm cu-
well.
thank you. I'm curious about the construction time and um, when you would anticipate doing this. How long is the construction time approximately? And is the station going to be closed during that time or still try and operate? Well, just give us a little sense of that, please.
Yeah, there's a maintenance project that's going to happen there as well. The underground tanks have to be replaced. They're all obviously underground, so it has nothing to do with the signage or the canopy. But I imagine you would try and coordinate the two projects. Yeah, so if he's doing his signage image upgrade at the same time as the tank replacement, I would, given the length of time it takes to get tanks nowadays, it could be 5 months before the start of the project. And then a project like that, I think, would probably take 6 weeks or so to complete. And if they wouldn't be able to sell gas during the project, I'm just going to look over. Ed, would you try to keep your inspection bays open? Yeah, looks like he can keep the building open during the project.
So what sort of community notification system do you have to let the nearby residents know when things are starting and stopping and that sort of thing? Have you got a system for that?
I don't have I'm a civil engineer. We do a lot of these kind of projects, but generally we don't have a system, for notifying the neighbors. But that doesn't mean we couldn't do such a thing if it's desired.
Sure. Well, maybe I'll leave that up to the Ward 5 counselor to kind of pursue. I get in Ward 4, which I represent, there are lots of construction projects going on, and the immediate neighbors very much appreciate notification of major changes that are being undertaken. So that's it, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Block, and we hope you get well soon. If there are no other comments or questions from the committee, I just have a couple of things before we go to a motion on this. One is to say that I, along with everyone else, I think very much appreciate that there's a reduction from 27 to 24 signs on site. There is a lot of signage on this site, so a reduction at all and a sort of cleaning up of that aesthetics is something that we're grateful for. I'm also glad to hear that you went to the UDC and they approved this. That matters to us. We really like that to go through Urban Design Commission first, so I like that. My question, which is a little different than Councillor Leary's, hers was about the canopy being expanded. I'm not clear, and correct me if I'm wrong in this understanding, you want an oversized freestanding sign beyond the 50 square feet that is typically permitted. Why is it you think you need that 3.8 extra feet of signage area versus conforming to what we have in our ordinance?
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard before, these signs come in certain widths. And so I think what puts us over is the snack shop and the inspection panels, which are two of his key businesses. But
that signage couldn't be made to fit in the standard size of a 50 square foot sign? Or reduce the size of them so that
Yeah.
it fits
Well-
with, the reason 50 is established is that's the typical maximum size that UDC likes.
Yeah, I just talked to the owner and the least important panel in that hierarchy is the snack shop panel. So if if it's important to get rid of that, so we stay under that precedent of 50 square feet, we can do that.
I think it's helpful to let people know what your services you're offering, but my question, really, it would be much easier for me if you were within that 50 feet.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how anyone else feels about it. Maybe it doesn't matter. It's just, I'm sometimes a little bit of a stickler for stuff like that.
yeah, so I guess, I'm not trying to say it's not important to the business, but looking for a balance, it is on the building. And I think for the most part, someone going to a filling station expects the cashier area to have, snack items for sale. So obviously love to have it on the main sign so that all the services are shown. But if that's, not palatable, we could eliminate the snack shop.
Let me just get a sense of the committee if that's something that matters to anybody else. Does anybody else care about the exceeding the maximum square footage that we usually recommend? Is that not important or not? Councillor Farrell?
Chair, I understand your point. I've been going in and out of this gas station for 25 years, and I don't find that sign obtrusive at all. And I do think it is one of the ways you can see from Route 9 what the services are that are being offered there in addition to the gas. It has come down a little bit, and I think that's terrific, but I personally don't find it obtrusive.
Councillor
Thank
Roach?
you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell.
Given the petitioner's willingness to address the illumination on the Elliott Street side, happy to give a little quid for the pro quo.
Love the spirit of negotiation. Any other comments? Because I'm willing, that's not a deal breaker for me either. I just wanted to raise it. Anyone else care?
I
Councillor
agree
Leary?
with
Okay.
Councillor Roach, yeah.
So that's not going to be part of it. I think that we're done with comments. Yes, Councillor Irish.
I just wanted to follow up actually on Councillor Block's question about construction. Given that it is a busy area with the CVS and the other businesses nearby, when the construction would occur, would that interfere with any of the entry or exit points around the CVS or the other businesses that going in during construction?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I don't think you would be allowed. Yeah, I'm afraid he's gonna have to work his project from that small, his small parcel, because I don't think any of the other businesses would let him. I mean, I'm just being realistic. I'm sure there'll be times where, like a truck, like for example, the day they have to set the tanks, there'll be some big vehicles there. And although they'll do all the work on his property, they obviously have to get on site
Right.
and position themselves. So I think like with any construction project, there would be some cases where, they might have to block a curb cut for, like you see typically where a flagman or someone just holds people up so a big vehicle can get in and then traffic goes again. And a lot of times, if during the permit process, that's where they might request a police, or there's certain things that would make them get a police detail if it did involve, a significant, traffic management. But obviously the guys that do this work, they work in urban areas all the time. So they plan it out pretty carefully.
It's just a very particularly tricky entrance.
Yeah.
As you know, it's with several entrances within a small area and exit. So whatever can be done to sort of ameliorate the any stoppage or confusion by people entering and exit would be probably.
Yeah, and logistically, just generally in these kind of construction projects, the folks who have to move the large equipment, they'd
Yeah.
rather move it. They're not looking to move it during rush hour,
Mm.
So, yeah, so I think that'll get built in.
Thank you.
All set for now, Councillor. This is one docket item, but it involves two amendments. So when we come to voting on it, we're going to look for planning and law in terms of the wording of how to consolidate that. But Councillor Irish, I think now would be a good time to make a motion to close the public hearing and to approve this. Two separate motions.
I make a motion to
Close the public
close the
hearing.
public hearing and to approve.
Great, thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye.
I,
Looks unanimous, sounds unanimous to me. We now have a motion to approve. So let's see the findings and conditions and the wording that planning and law have worked out on how to combine these two amendments into one cleanly worded approval.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you can't hear me. So we have here, hopefully everyone can see my screen, the draft order for this petition. We have here a special permit site plan approval to amend special permit 216-88 to extend the non-conforming front setback by raising the existing canopy and constructing a new canopy with updated signage, to allow an oversized secondary sign, to allow multiple secondary signs, and to waive the maximum aggregate signage allowed, as well as to supersede special permit 305-82 to replace the existing freestanding sign with an oversized freestanding sign for the reasons given by the committee. And we have here the findings. Item 1, that the site in the Business 2 zone is an appropriate location for the canopy and signage, as the increase in canopy size and changes to the signage do not further encroach into the setback and serves to help identify the site from a distance to our oncoming vehicular traffic from Boylston Street and Elliott Street. Item 2, that the canopy and signage will not adversely affect the neighborhood, as it will improve wayfinding and will aid visitors in both locating and navigating the site. And 3, that the canopy and signage will not be a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, as the canopy and sign will be reconstructed in the same locations, will not exceed the height of existing structures, and will enhance the appearance, safety, and navigability of the site. 4, that access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, as no changes to parking or circulation are necessary or planned with the installation of the sign. Item 5, that the nature of the use of the premises, the architecture of the building, or its location with reference to the street is such that exceptions to the signage requirements should be permitted in the public interest. The site's longstanding use as a service station, coupled with the surrounding mixed-use neighborhood, will benefit from updated signage that better identifies services on site and provides improved safety and signage for vehicular and pedestrian traffic. And finally, item 6, that the proposed horizontal extension of the existing nonconforming front setback is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming front setback is to the neighborhood, as the proposed extension of the canopy does not encroach deeper or further into the front setback than the existing canopy. We have the petition number here. We have the petitioner's name and information, the location of the site, that the use will remain the same. And then here we have the relief granted allocated to the respective special permits. And finally, here the language that one amends and one supersedes. And finally, here the standard plan referencing condition under item 1 with our plans. Under item 2, the standard building permit condition, and under item 3, the final inspection and certificate of occupancy condition. And if it is the will of the committee, we can add a condition that Councilor Roach had discussed to incorporate a non-illuminated west-facing facade, if that's wanted. So I can,
That sounds like that would be a good idea.
okay, great.
Thank you. And automatically, it needs to be in compliance with our light trespass ordinance, so we don't need special wording about that. All set? We can take a roll call vote.
Counselor Block,
I,
Counselor Farrell, Counselor Golden, Counselor Irish,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Roach.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Good luck. Thanks for improving the site. Our last item for the night. Oh, before we get to that, I want to welcome, we've been joined by City Council President John Oliver from Ward 1, who's on the Zoom call. Welcome, John. Thanks for coming to Land Use on a free night. The final item is number 16-26, which is a request to exceed FAR and to allow 3 stories at 89 Redwood Road. First, we'll hear from the Planning Department, and then we'll hear from the petitioner.
I'll just,
Leave that to you. Thank you, Mr. Melcher.
yep, I'm just going to pull up the presentation here.
Great.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Zach Melcher. I'm the planning associate with the City of Newton, and I'm going to be presenting petition number 16-26, which is a special permit site plan approval to raise an existing split level dwelling and construct a new single family dwelling. The petitioner is seeking relief to exceed floor area ratio and to allow 3 stories within a single family dwelling. For the neighborhood context, the property is located in a single residence 2 district in Newton Center and is improved with a split level dwelling constructed in 1952. It's situated in the Oak Hill neighborhood, which primarily consists of single family homes. And most of these surrounding properties are 2 or 2.5 stories, but they appear to be that way. I also want to point out that in terms of FAR of surrounding properties, if we want to compare this one to abutting properties, we can't do that because to determine FAR, a professional needs to go inside the building itself and take measurements. It requires engineers and surveyors to determine the average grade of the midpoint of the basement. So I cannot speak to the FAR of surrounding properties definitively. I just for future reference. In terms of the zoning relief requested, the petitioner is seeking relief to exceed FAR and to exceed 3 stories. The FAR will increase from 0.27 to 0.50, where 0.35 is the maximum permitted in the district, as well as the height will increase from 22.5 to 33.8, but will still remain below the 36-foot requirement. And the proposal complies with all other zoning requirements. In terms of the criteria to consider, we have standard special permit criteria, which is the proposed dwelling, which exceeds the floor area ratio, is not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. The site is an appropriate location for a 3-story. Oh, did the presentation just go out? It's black on my screen for some reason.
We did lose your screen, Zach.
Okay, that's
Screen share. We're working on it.
Hey, Zach, it's Katie. I think you just have to go back 1 slide. I think you just reached the end of the presentation too soon.
Yeah, let me see. Nothing happens when I try to click I can stop sharing and try it again. Let's see. Okay, let me try to pull it up again. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Well, we are seeing the planning analysis.
Is it up now?
Yes.
Okay, or let me go back a slide. Okay. With the criteria, yeah, I'll just go through this again. The proposed dwelling, which exceeds FAR, is not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. The site is an appropriate location for the 3-story dwelling, which exceeds the floor area ratio. The proposed 3-story dwelling, which exceeds the FAR as developed and operated, will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. Now, for the analysis, planning does not have significant concerns with the request to allow a 3-story structure that exceeds FAR. However, the petitioner has options to comply because this is a new build. And then just to kind of elaborate on the 2.5-story, 3-story piece, the proposed dwelling presents as 2.5 stories from the street level, which is in line with the scale of the surrounding properties. The building is classified as 3 stories because the midpoint of the basement is slightly higher than the average grade, which means that in this case, the basement counts as the 1st story and therefore is a part of the FAR calculation. And as previously mentioned, the FAR will increase from 0.27 to 0.50, where 0.35 is the maximum permitted in this district. Also wanted to note that the existing driveway will be replaced by lawn, and the new driveway will be relocated to the left of it. And the curb cut will be relocated as well. So that concludes the presentation, and I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Zach. There may be some. Would the petitioner like to come up to the microphone and add anything about what you'd like to be doing and why you'd like to do this project? Is it somebody online, not you folks? Michael Ross? Mr. Ross?
Yeah,
Welcome.
hello, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was just trying to unmute there. I just got it. Happy New Year to you and to members of the committee. I wanted to be there. Sorry, I wasn't there in person. I had another virtual meeting tonight right before this one, so it would have been impossible. But in the audience are my clients. They're Newton residents, Vlad and Victoria Sorotin. They should be there. I can't see them, but I'm sure they're raising their hands.
We see them.
Okay, good.
They're waving at us.
Okay, good. So they are the owners of this property, and they are also residents of Newton. I'm going to just walk you through a slide of my own, if I could. And just as I'm bringing this up, what I'd like to just say is that we had every belief and intention that this would have been an as-of-right project. When we got out to the site, we discovered that the groundwater at this particular lot is higher than the other lots in the area and requires that the basement be above it. And that drives the rest of the project. That is the only reason why we're coming out of the ground. It doesn't look like we're coming out of the ground to 3 stories, but because of that higher groundwater and the elevations, I'm going to walk you through all of this. That's what's driving this. That's the only thing that's driving this. So kind of a classic kind of almost a variance argument where you're saying it's unique to the topography and to the conditions of the soil and of the land that we're on. So this is 89 red. Can you see the screen, Madam Chair, members?
Mr. Ross, can you do a full screen for your Zoom?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So this is 89 Redwood. This is the existing structure. As I mentioned, seeking minor relief with regard to the groundwater level issue. And as previously mentioned, this is an existing single-family structure. It's on a 12,860 square foot lot. It has received approval from Newton Historic for demolition. It's in an SR2 district. And as you'll see on this slide and other slides, it's roughly in the same footprint, very similar footprint, and conforms with height and all other zoning requirements. Here's the footprint of the existing house in the dashed green and the proposed house. They are roughly close to each other and complying in the other ways I mentioned. Here's some elevations of the structure. It presents as a 2.5 family structure. The roof, as you can see, is or the attic is accessible through a pull down ladder system only. The maximum height, the tallest part of the attic, is 6 feet high. It's not an accessible attic. But nonetheless, because we are higher on the ground, even though we bring the soil up to where we are, we're higher on the existing current plane. That is what's triggering these violations, these 2 areas of relief. Here's your 2 floors of living, first floor and second floor. We can go back and take closer detail if you want. And then here's your basement and your roof plan. Basement is, it's a substantial portion of the basement is storage and mechanical, but there is some living area in the basement. And then with the roof plan, there's no living space in the roof, in the attic. I think this is relevant here. What this slide tries to show you is what our neighboring that we were able to identify of the neighbors we were able to identify their groundwater from their recent projects, we were able to determine where they sit and how we're unique with this high groundwater. So at 21 Lovett, which is on your left, they have their groundwater is 8.9 feet into the ground. So plenty of room to develop their basement. 94 Redwood, 5.5, 71 Redwood, 6.11, 54 Redwood, 6.5. You get to us on the far right there. We're at 4.05 groundwater level. 4.0 feet below grade does not allow you to fully submerge the basement for the basement's midpoint to be submerged, which is the requirement to be considered a basement. And so we are 15 inches above that point. And as a result, the basement then gets counted as a floor and the basement gets counted as FAR. So that's what's driving this. Just drill down just a little bit more on this detail because I think it's relevant. The diagram on the left shows an acceptable water level of 5.6 feet. So in this scenario, 1 foot is required to be above the water level to commence the slab. And then from there, you construct the basement. From there, you should be able to get your basement in within the midpoint to fall below the average grade, thus making it a basement. On the drawing on the right, which is our condition, you can just see the dilemma. Our water level is at 4.05. Once you go a foot above that, slab's installed, the basement is reached, you're 15 inches over the of the existing average grade of the midpoint. There'd be no way to install a livable basement area consistent with IRC building code heights and be able to and not count it as a floor. Here I'm just showing that because the basement's midpoint is above ground and it is counted as a story, the zoning violation for stories and FAR is triggered. And then all other zoning requirements are met. This is just pulled from our survey. Here's your FAR calculations where we would be at 0.35. You had the basement, we're at 0.5. These slides are helpful to just show you other properties in our immediate vicinity, directly across the street from us. You know, we are most certainly within the same size and scale of our immediate neighbors. This is to the right of us, just kitty corner to us. Yeah, it's possible these folks built prior to changing definitions within the zoning code. In any case, their scale seems to, in some cases, be larger than us. These are all nearby structures that I wanted to share with you. Just to say that the proposed project is in keeping with the area and neighborhood. So in conclusion, the project seeks the minimal relief necessary to overcome circumstances of our groundwater condition, which is unique to our land specifically. And for this condition, the height of the groundwater, but for the height of the groundwater, this would be an as-of-right project. I'm happy to answer any questions that the group may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
Before we take it into committee and come back with questions for the petitioner or planning, are there any members of the public who would like to speak to this? Tasia Melta?
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's Tejas Mehta. I live across the street at 94 Redwood Road, one of the houses that you saw. And we recently built as well. So I am, because of the recent building, quite educated on the groundwater issue in Newton. I've been living on this property. We had a property before this, so I've been living here since 1999. I understand the situation. I think some of the houses that Mr. Ross showed are the new construction. I would say about 30–40% of the road or the neighboring roads are new construction, and about 60–70% are the old split 1950s ranches. I guess being a resident here and hoping to live here for another 20 years, a question to the council on, here we're talking about a little over a foot. So I understand the situation, even though by definition it's a 3-story, it looks a little bit like a taller 2.5-story, which is some of the new construction that's happening. How does that prevent this slippery slope, and how, or what happens when the next building two doors down, or my neighbor or whatever? We recently built actually level to the house next to ours on Clifton. That's how we determine the height of our house, to try to level the land. So I just wanted to hear a little bit. This is my first meeting. This is quite fascinating, actually, but if someone could sort of educate me on the process, and is there this sweet spot, right? We have FAR, and now we're asking for an exemption from FAR. What's that sweet spot where it's no longer exempt?
Well, welcome to your first Land Use Committee meeting. I think we will touch on some of that. The reason this project is here is because it requires a special permit, which means that the normal considerations are not being met. As Mr. Ross said, there are several waivers they need here. And that's the balancing act that we will be talking about. How much in this area, which is known for high water table. This site seems to have a particularly high water table, which I view as a limitation of what can be well built on it. But that's something that the owners are wrestling with. So keep listening, and perhaps you'll hear some of the nuances of your question addressed. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? I don't see any hands up now, but as you know, you can raise your hands and we'll come to you later. Let's take it into the committee first. Councilor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome back to Newton, Mr. Ross. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. Happy New Year. Thank you, Councilor.
Yep. I just want to go back to that water table issue that you mentioned to start off. You might have mentioned this in your presentation, so apologies if you're going to repeat this and do this all over again. I just want to be 100% certain with respect to the water table. If the water table was lower beneath the grade, this would be a by right project, right?
Correct.
About how much lower would it need to be for it to be a by right project?
About 15 inches, which is what we are, because we're not an inch taller than we need to be. I tried to do the math, but I think 5.5 is the sweet spot. So we're at 4.05. So you could pull this off at 5.5. So the math on that, yeah, that math kind of maths out to about 15, I think. So that's pretty close, about 15 inches.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to be certain. Are your clients changing the grade to the site?
Yes, they are. So what they're going to do is they're going to pull the dirt up appropriately, so it reads as a 2-family property, as you would do, to reach the stairs, to reach the driveway. You would do this on any project, and if we were lower, we would do this anyway on the project too. You'd still have to do it. So there is always going to be a regrading. I think the old law might have allowed you to, and there's a debate a little bit with some of the old law on some of the old zoning, would have allowed you to count the new or potentially the average of the new and the old, and I think it was treated a little bit differently. And the new law requires you to count the lesser of the two, the lesser being the existing would be the lesser than the proposed. The old law, if you bring the dirt up, that's what you're counting it from. So I think some of these plans probably were built, some of these developments were probably built before that law changed. And you're getting really into the weeds on this particular issue. For us, it's almost doesn't matter because this water table pushes our project out of the ground and forces this issue, which now is in front of you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ross. I just want to talk the planning. If they are changing the grade, we measure the grade from the original grade. We changed that last term, right? Ms. Wewell or Ms. Berman?
Hi, this is Katie Wewell. We would use the original grade if it were lower. So it's whichever is the lower of the two. If the proposed grade were lower, we would measure the height from there. However, I can see the two calculations here and the difference is pretty negligible. I think the existing average grade or the original grade is the lower of the two. So that is what they're measuring from.
So the building height is measured from that original lower grade. Okay, yes, okay, good. And that's going to be 33.8 feet, which is beneath the 36 feet of the maximum height allowed. Just wanted to be certain on that, Mr. Ross. And I think you showed some homes in the neighborhood. This 33 feet, it's around the same height as the other homes, correct?
Correct, or we believe even shorter.
Okay. We heard from one abutter. And did you have a community meeting? Did you notify abutters in any way that this was going to be a special permit?
I believe the team did a letter drop off. We can ask them about it. I think there was some immediate door knocking or letter drop off. I believe.
Okay. That's it for now. Thank you, Chair. I'm all set.
I wonder if somebody could be more specific, Mr. Ross, about that neighborhood notification than you. Is it the owners who might be able to answer that so that we don't have a "we believe it happened" answer?
Yeah, I can understand you wanting that to be more specific. I don't know, Victoria or Vlad, did you care to comment on that?
That would be great, thanks. Just give us your name and make sure the microphone is on. It's a standard question that we always ask. We
Yes.
want to make sure you've let your neighbors know.
Hello, I'm Vlad Sorotin. We did speak verbally and we did post the sign as required in front of the house. There was we didn't canvass the neighborhood, but we did speak with some of the abutting neighbors about our project.
So not a neighborhood meeting.
No neighborhood meeting.
Yes?
Yeah. Did any of the neighbors have any concerns or questions about it?
No.
No, they were pretty much on
Right.
board.
The few that I spoke.
The ones that you spoke with were in favor or supportive
Right.
or
I didn't
differential.
I didn't have any pushback.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Is the current house being lived in?
No.
No.
It's
So you didn't, for instance, offer to have people come over to that house to meet and talk about it because it's not being inhabited.
Right.
And there's no current basement.
Well, there is currently a basement.
It's not a livable space.
No, it's not livable space.
That's the site dictated that to that current house. Okay, thanks. All set, Counselor Lucas? Counselor Leary? Oh, sorry, no, Counselor Roach was next, then Counselor Leary. Counselor Maliki, I see your hand up. I'll get to you for sure.
First, I'd just like to recap, because it can be tough when you get no feedback. But Ms. Maida's concern is that the increase allowed by a special permit would have a creeping effect across the neighborhood and set a precedent. So I just want to acknowledge that. My concern is with the FAR and the fact that the basement is actually looks like it's going to be a fully lived-in space. So it's not a question of the basement kind of, I don't know how to best put this. It's not like you're forced to have the basement higher and therefore it's unfairly being captured as part of the living space, but it looks like there's a bedroom, full bath, TV room, family room, and then it really is a considerable increase in the FAR in terms of the actual livable space. That's I'm open to comment, but that's my concern. And I will say that I will be guided by my Ward 8 colleague and colleagues in terms of, you know, whether this is a, you know, common to the neighborhood or not, but this doesn't seem consistent with our housing goals.
Thank you, Councillor Roach. Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also had the same concern about FAR. It's quite a very large increase, and we do have FAR for a reason. So I was under the impression that part of the basement was not livable space or the first floor, but that's currently, I was mistaken on that. So I'm uncomfortable with that, with the FAR being exceeded by such a large amount. I also wanted to ask, it's a 19-foot curb cut. What is the current curb cut of the house, the existing house?
For the driveway.
For the driveway, yeah.
It's almost exactly the same, 19.
Okay, because I was looking at it and it did look like that was a really big curb cut as well. I think 19 feet is a little excessive. There's also, is the entire driveway going to be paved, impervious paved area? Or are you considering any permeable materials for that driveway?
The driveway is currently listed as impervious, but we could consider permeability. We can discuss that if that's something that is of interest to this committee. You know, I'm happy to bring up the site plan. I could show you I could walk you through what it looks like. You know, I'm also happy to respond to the previous counselor's comments as well, and more directly, if you'd like me to.
And just finally, I know you're going to be going through engineering, but are you putting additional stormwater infrastructure in as part of this project?
I would imagine we are, but I can't speak to that. I don't know if any members of the team can speak to that. I don't know if Stella's there or if she wants to speak to that. Vlad, if you wanted to speak to that.
Or if Mr. Spruhan is on the call, I see you have an engineer on the project. He could address that too, but go ahead, Vlad.
Yeah, I can speak on that. There is going to be quite a large stormwater drainage system installed in there. I did speak to Edmund Spruhan about that, so there is going to be a very extensive, substantial, yes,
capacity to
Right.
keep water on site.
Right.
Okay. One other question. It wasn't clear to me on the plan. Are you removing trees on this site?
It's, if you look at the site, it's pretty cleared.
Right. I just see a few.
There really isn't a plan for removing any trees at this point. We didn't really get that far, but we really don't have any plans on removing any trees or any big trees for sure.
Okay. Those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leary. Councillor Maliki has her hand up unless a land use committee member wants to say something before. Councillor Farrell, let's go to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just interested, you say that this water table is an exception in the neighborhood. Does that mean that the houses on each side of it do not confront the same issue?
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. I did show you the slide of, the houses we were able to deduce and to get a reading from by pulling through, their materials. And you did see that across the street from us, to either side of us, that the water tables were deeper. I have a topo image in my appendix. I can pull it up. What you're going to see essentially is that where this property is located, it's located in such a place that it almost makes sense that the groundwater is higher where this is. But it's not something you know until you send Spruan, you send the engineer out, they bore into the ground, they dig the holes, they come up with the number, they average out the site. And that's exactly what happened here. And once we had that information, you're left with this decision. What do? You obviously don't want to build your basement into the water. You really can't do that. And so, this is we're confronted with this issue. This is a very unique issue. It's not pervasive to the entire neighborhood. We haven't found any property that has a shorter or a higher water table than what we have. But of course, we're not boring into everyone else's yards. We're limited to whatever public information is out there. But of everything we looked at, nothing was even within, I think the closest we got was 5.5, and we're at 4.05. So from all of that, yeah, I mean, so this is a unique situation. Absolutely.
That's interesting. I mean, this ward has an extraordinarily high water table. And we're finding water problems all over with new construction, and particularly with it then permeating onto neighboring properties. But in this particular site, I guess I'm wondering whether the house immediately on the right, you're saying that that's going to be a different problem. It's the same type of house, same period, and whether we are in fact going to be confronted with the next developer by the same issue. Let me start with the fact that I am greatly concerned by the extraordinary loss of reusable housing in Ward 8. I'm the Ward 8 local city councilor. We have lost an enormous number of homes, and many of them continue to be built with basements where they shouldn't be built. So I'm really concerned about the loss of the home, the fact that you're saying that the water table is so distinguishable from even the one on the right, which is a prospect for another one of these purchases and enormous expansions. So I'm concerned about the dramatic increased FAR. I think we all need to be looking at the high water table in this area and thinking about what are we going to do? What are Newton's plans, particularly in neighborhoods like this, for ongoing construction? So I'm interested to listen to more, but I am not favorably inclined at the moment, what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. We have heard from Ward 8 people and for you for these years about what a common issue, constraint, problem, and site limitation it is over in this Oak Hill Park area. So this is not news, I think, to any of us. Councillor Maliki.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Let me get my tree questions out of the way first, then I'll get on to some other stuff. I believe the applicant said that he didn't expect to be removing trees, but it was noted, I think, in the memo, and I can see on the site plan there, it looks like one tree would actually be removed because of the location of the driveway. Is that correct? It didn't look like a large tree, but I can see it on Street View.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site plan right now. It looks like one tree is, and I can't tell how large that tree is, but there does look like there's one tree in the path of the
Plunk in the middle of the driveway, yeah.
Of the driveway, of the proposed
Okay.
driveway.
Yeah,
Best to be informed and honest with us, rather than saying we don't think any trees are going to be removed. Be familiar with the site plan and the landscape plan so that we don't have to be pulling out these inconsistencies. And it would be
Yeah,
good
and-
to know the type and the size of that tree.
yeah, and this is another good example of why people should be getting their tree permit reviewed, application reviewed before they come to, certainly before they come to land use, and even if it weren't coming to land use, before they get their apply for their building permit, because that could influence the sort of design of the house. Because two related things. I wonder why it's necessary to move the driveway from the right side, where there's already a double wide driveway, to the left side to create a new double wide driveway. Why couldn't you leave the driveway where it is?
Okay, that's a fair question. Sound like you had another question.
Yeah, kind of related to that. I mean, perhaps the reason you're moving it is to fit in that sort of third parking space on the side, but the result, looking at the proposed plan, it's basically creating kind of a huge parking lot, asphalt area in the front yard, which much larger than what was there before, which is not particularly attractive or helpful. And after the discussion a few meetings back in land use about pervious versus impervious, it doesn't sound to me like our so-called pervious surfaces are really going to be that pervious unless they're meticulously maintained according to what people were being told by DPW. So whether it's pervious or not is not going to make me feel any better about that huge parking lot. Question related to the height. So it sounds like you're 15 inches short or too tall of where you would like to be to have a full basement. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, how much does that mean? The roof line of the new house would be 15 inches higher than it is, or it is now, or than it would be if you were not worrying about the basement, basically?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, if we could go down another 10 feet, or
inches.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. If we could go down another 10 inches, then yeah, I mean, we wouldn't even be here, as I mentioned. But we can't, and that's what's driving everything. Now we are below the height requirement. We do not infringe upon the height issue. It's a
The height
storage
is
issue.
measured from the current grade.
Yeah, it's measured from the
Yeah,
current grade.
yeah.
Even as measured from the current grade, we're not exceeding that height requirement. We have to measure from the current grade. There's
Right.
two height measurements. There's the story measurement, and then there's the height measurement. We're being triggered by the story measurement. The FAR is automatic. Someone said earlier, one of the counselors said earlier, that they were concerned about the living space in the basement. I don't know, we're about 40-60 living space, 50-50 living space in the basement. But even if it was 100% living space, or if it was 0% living space, it would have no bearing. The definition of basement isn't whether or not someone's living in there, which some towns and cities it is. So it's a reasonable conclusion. But in Newton, it's not. What defines a basement in Newton is the midpoint and how far it is into the ground. If it's above the midpoint, if the midpoint is above the ground, the earth of the lower of the two, existing or proposed average plane, then it's a basement. It's no longer a basement. It's now considered the first floor. That is why it's FAR. That is why it's an additional story, not because someone's living down there. If someone's living down there, frankly, you're making use of an existing basement. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just, it's with many basements, especially in new construction, you see people living there. Here you have maybe half of the basement being used for mechanical and storage and those types of things. But
So
the other point, Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
the height of you're not up against the limits of the height of the house, the 35 or 36 feet height. You're well under that.
Yeah, we're at 33.8 and the requirement is 36.
Okay.
So we're well under that. We're being triggered, but we're allowed to do 2.5 stories as of right. But because of our groundwater situation, because we're coming out of the existing plane by 15 inches, and the midpoint isn't covered, we're triggering a 3rd story, even though it reads completely as a 2 or a 2.5, if you want to call it that.
Okay, another question. If you were, what is the height of the ceiling height in the basement?
I think it's 9, or even, I think it's 8. Sorry. Is it 8, Vlad?
That's correct. It's 8.
8, yeah. We kind of went down this road. You would have to make the living space in the basement, you'd have to make a crawl space. And, I don't think they're doing crawl spaces today. I mean, there's a good reason why they stopped doing crawl spaces. First of all, your tax revenue would get hit if every basement in Newton was a crawl space. It would damage the value of the property. It would damage the value of it's just not being done today in the way people build housing. But, back in the day, they used to build crawl spaces. Absolutely. I don't think that's what anyone's proposing here, but to actually make a livable basement, you have to have at least 7 feet. I think it's 7. It could be 6'11", but we can't get there with our water table. Even if we made this height as low as the building code allows us to do so while still counting as living space, we wouldn't be able to get there on this one.
Okay, Mr. Ross, we have understood that point. So we're all set on that point. Councilor Maliki, can you finish up?
Yeah, I had one more question actually related to the tree situation. Given that you plan to raise the grade up around the house, that could impact the trees, some of which seem very close to the house on both the right and the left side. So even though you might think you're preserving the trees, that's not going to fly with the tree permit if you're increasing the grade in the especially the critical root zone of the trees. So that, I think you should get that reviewed by Mark Welch first.
We're happy to do so.
Okay.
It's coming back to the microphone to address that.
We will absolutely work with the tree warden in order to preserve as many trees as possible. I think maybe I'm just looking at the plot plan now, maybe there's 1 or 2 that are going to be maybe at risk. But
yeah, maybe. And one more comment. I too am kind of concerned about the size of the house and wonder if you pulled back the footprint in the back, if you could move the midpoint or the average point of the basement to the point where you were not exceeding the floor thing. Because looking at the floor plans, I mean, you've got 4 bathrooms in the 2nd floor alone, and that's that seems kind of over the top to me. But call me crazy. I like small houses, and I was just reading in the Washington Post today about how bigger houses don't make people happy. So think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Maliki. This is undoubtedly a large house. This is almost 6,500 square feet, and this is a choice you're making. But while you were there at the microphone, could I just follow up on something she raised? And I'm going to make my comments at the end, but while you were there, you said, and Mr. Ross said, you're adding soil around the house. How much of that grade change is going to happen? How much fill, how much more topsoil is going to be added around the house? I couldn't tell by the plans. Is there a grading and drainage plan that shows how much you think you're going to be increasing the grade?
So we didn't get to the drainage plan yet. We're here.
We're not.
Setting, right? But we're not going to be building huge retaining walls or anything like that. The actual grade change is actually going to be negligible. We're gonna taper the ground away from the building. Maybe there's gonna be 1 or 2, maybe a foot tall retaining walls, but there isn't gonna be anything substantial. Not anything like you see being built previously on that street.
We just don't have the grading and drainage and tree and planting plan yet ready to look at for this, correct?
But
You're like a little more preliminarily ahead in terms of site plan. Okay, thank you. Councilor Roach.
So just to clarify, Mr. Ross, if we can talk about the height of the like exposed side of the basement, so from the grade to the sill plate, and as I'm now understanding you, if you didn't have this issue, the basement would be a little lower, but you're bringing the grade up. So there's no difference in terms of kind of the livability of the basement. Your contention is there's no difference in the livability of the basement because you're raising the basement up. Is that correct? And let me, before you answer, 1.5 feet would be a meaningful opportunity for more light to come into the basement. And so what it seems to me is that by raising it 1.5 feet, the basement becomes more livable. And therefore, I get your argument about, all basements are potentially livable, but this seems that raising the basement makes it more livable, and above the basement, you're banging out the FAR and grabbing every possible square foot, and then there's this additional increasingly livable space as a result of the 1.5 feet. Are you saying that that's not the case because the grade is going to take up that 1.5 foot raised basement?
Are you asking?
I got a little lost on it. Maybe I can answer it this way. And if I'm not trying to obfuscate. I got a little lost in the question. What we do have I wouldn't even call it a window well. We have a very generous entry area to the basement, to the walkout. You can see it on the plans. I can try to bring it up. It allows for light and air to get in there. And so there are, you don't need tiny basement windows. You have this kind of, and that portion of, you have this walkout, which is generous. And that portion of the building, yeah, I'm just looking at the plans here. Yeah, you have some stairs that go into the basement. There's looks like almost a full window. And then you walk further, you can see there's another full window. So there's a lot of light that will get in through this, I guess, this walkway on the right side elevation, which you should have. I could pull it up if you want me to. And that will allow for it. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess is your
my
point
view
that
of the-
maybe you lift it out of you don't go as high up with the dirt? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, my understanding of this, wow, I sound really loud, sorry, in the room. My understanding looking at the plans is that opportunity for light is greater as a result of lifting the entire building up 1.5 feet in order to meet the groundwater problem. That's why I'm concerned about the FAR, because in fact, the conditions that created the request for the special permit are in fact making the basement more habitable. And I just wanted to clarify that point because you made a good point about basements are basements, but this isn't just a basement because you have more opportunity to make it, appears to me, more livable because of the circumstances of the groundwater.
I guess I would just say that the basement is exactly where it would be no matter what is in there with an 8-foot ceiling. An 8-foot ceiling, by the way, is not, it's not a 10-foot ceiling. It's an 8-foot ceiling.
Standard.
It's standard, but you see many 9-foot ceilings in new construction often. Sometimes you see 10. So you're at 8. So I don't think we're not taking advantage of the high water level to try to put this high ceiling basement into the equation here. We're just building a basement. Even if the committee forced us to do a 7-foot basement there,
Well, we won't do that because 8 is standard, and I'm just trying to move things along here.
Yeah,
I
understood,
don't-
Madam Chair.
We don't need to continue to belabor some of these issues, but I do want to make sure that Councilor Roach's point has been made and addressed. I would like us to try and tie this up. Councilor Roach, were you done with your line of thought for this right now?
Yes.
Thank you. I do want to be sure that we've considered everything we want to consider and that we're able to either vote on or at least give good feedback to this petitioner about some of our thoughts and concerns, things we might want to see if you come back. In my opinion, we're not ready to vote on this tonight. I think that I'm just going to touch on the things that are concerning me about this and that I've noticed and heard amongst my colleagues. Yes, there's a high groundwater in this area. Perhaps this site is higher than others. Each site comes with its own specific constraints and limitations. That's what makes the design of the site special, and that's why you're looking for a special permit. That's probably why there's a house there without a livable basement in it now. That has always been the situation. Another issue that we see, particularly in this part of town, is that the more we build construction here and we dig down, the more we're displacing that groundwater and we're making the problem worse for other people. So that for every new large house we build there that wants something of a livable basement, we're exacerbating the problem that already exists. And that concerns me. I'm a landscape architect and site planner by profession. So this is the kind of thing I have been working on for 30, 40 years of my career. Despite what Mr. Ross says, right now, a choice is being made to have livable space in the basement. That is not a necessity, whether it's crawl space or storage or flat, no basement at all. Those are options that people have to make decisions on depending on the site constraints of every individual site. I'm sorry, it sounds like you were not aware of that when you purchased this property, that you didn't know that until Mr. Spruhan came in and did some testing for you, but that is an issue, and particularly in this part of town. We see it over in the countryside school area. We see it on Chapin Road. This is something that happens in many pockets of Newton. You are just going to have to try and best accommodate the limitations and constraints of the site. You guys are wanting a very large house on a site that is making it hard to accomplish that, I would say. There is the neighborhood impact. I appreciated that we are looking at other large homes in the neighborhood, but again, some of those sites may not have had the same constraints, or they were built at a different time with different considerations, different ordinances. I think that the 19-foot wide curb cut, when we talk about the almost 1,000 square feet of increased impervious surface that you guys are adding, again, we don't have a recommended surface yet that we could say is a successful pervious surface, but what you could do is reduce the amount of area of it. The driveway doesn't have to be double wide. The curb cut doesn't have to be that wide. You can consider a less total paved area because you're also increasing roof area, which is also impervious. I'm glad you're going to have a comprehensive stormwater underground drainage system that Mr. Spruhan will design. That's going to be necessary. I think we need to know more about the trees, the existing trees, the tree removal. I'd like to see more of that. I do also agree with many of my colleagues that the FAR increase is extreme in this situation, well beyond the 35 up to 50 FAR. The 35 that's considered maximum, that's a really big jump. And again, I'm concerned about the groundwater displacement that happens the more of these buildings that we build. So those are questions that I have. I would not myself be ready to vote in favor of this tonight. I'm not sure how other people feel. We can take a vote. We can take a straw vote. Mr. Ross, you can decide how best to proceed. Allison Leary, you have your hand up again.
Yes, thank you. I just had one really quick question on the site plan, and I just want to say that I'm in agreement with all your comments here. So regarding the trees, there's a legend for a tree, and then there's another type of bush or tree that's sort of darker, and it looks like those are supposed to be trees as well. They're on the left back, and I don't see that in the legend. I wanted to know, are those trees or are those bushes?
Yeah, I see what you're looking at.
Yeah. And if they are trees, then you have I think, at least 15 trees on the site. And if they're not trees, then it's closer to 7 or 8 trees on the site.
Those trees, all right, so.
Michael Ross, the owner would like to address this if that
Yeah,
would be
please.
helpful for you.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Hi, I'm Victoria Sroten. So those are actually bushes on the side.
Oh, bushes, shrubs.
It's on one of the slides that Michael did present. There is one tree, it's rather small, I may even call it a large bush that we keep referencing that would be impacted. There are no trees, the larger trees are not being impacted. And again, I don't know if Michael can pull it up or I can. If you're looking actually at the site plan, the house that we are proposing to replace is not much larger than what is actually on the lot right now, so it will not be impacting any of the trees. And again, I'm happy to show it or you can pull it up.
That's why it helps us if you come with a site plan that notes trees, shrubs, species, sizes, so that we don't just see a circle or a shaded circle. We know what it is.
Absolutely. Then
So that's one of
these
the
are the
things.
steps that were proposed to us. Obviously, we're following.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see next time when you come back, a little more specificity of that. So we all know what we're looking at, but thank you for coming to
Yeah.
the microphone to clarify.
Thank you
Counselor
for
Leary,
that.
Finish up.
Yeah, that's it. It does look like there is a tree right in the middle of the new driveway as well.
There is the driveway, right, but the trees,
Okay.
the bushes you were talking about are not in the site. That
Right.
dashed line there reflects the setback, which we are within. That's all that's trying to show is the envelope of what's allowed by
Okay.
zone.
Okay, I just didn't see the legend for that design. Thank you very much.
And Madam Chair, to answer your question, I mean, I think I know where this is going, so I get it. I just want to say this, you know, if we're talking about curb cuts, if we're talking about trees, if we're talking about, you know, that I think, you know, I think there's work we can, if we're talking about impervious surfaces, I think there's things that we can do here. I do. The driveway layout, those things are things we can do. I just want to be clear. This is not an overreach on the FAR. It's a 0.35. We are counting the basement because it pops out. If the basement had nothing, it would, you know, so, you know, we're not, the upstairs floors that you see and that it reads as a 0.35 house, which is allowable by zoning. I just want to make that point. And I think, you know, so if you think it makes sense for us to come back with, you know, maybe some more thought out landscaping and maybe some solutions to what we're talking about with the replacement of a tree, or if we do impact a tree, what we plan to do about it to mitigate that. And if we could talk about the pervious issue and some of the other things in the curb cuts, if you think that's worth it, I mean, I think that we should proceed in that direction. But I don't know if we can come back. I don't think we can come back to you and suddenly solve for the FAR or solve for the variance. The question was asked, how do we prevent this from happening again? That is a very fair question, and that should be the question you ask every single time. And the only thing I would say to that is that you have those people pull up a test pit drill that I'm showing you right here with a table here that tells, you know, that specific, but from an engineer that's reputable, that goes into the reason why you're at doing this. And we have a scientific reason of why we're doing this. This is not some invented thing. Unless someone can show you these two test pits and how they equal what we are proposing here, I don't think they have a right to move forward with a precedent to get all of a sudden FAR and stories is now out the window. And we didn't find anyone.
Ross,
Yes.
you are earning your money advocating on behalf of getting your client's project approved. There are
thank you.
choices being made here. One of my points is there are choices being made by these owners about the size of the livable space they want on this site. And if you're saying now that that's not something you think they would be willing to rethink or reconsider before coming back, okay, but we've listed a bunch of things that we would like for them to consider coming back to us for. Or if you would prefer, I think we could take a vote tonight.
Yeah, no, I think what I'm saying is that, and maybe I said it wrong, and I'm sorry if I did.
You're making a good case.
Okay.
But we're just
Madam Chair,
trying
I
to
think
be
we're saying the
heard.
same thing. I think we're saying the same thing. Let us go back. Let us make some of the changes that you recommend. We'll try to hit as many as we can, and we'll try to come back with something that is closer to what you're asking for.
I think that's a great answer. And I see the counselor from Ward 8 nodding in appreciation of that offer.
Okay, thank you.
If we all agree on that, I think that we can look to Counselor Farrell to make a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make a motion to hold on this, keep the public hearing open.
Thank
Did
you.
I say that properly?
Yes, perfect. Do you need to speak before we vote on this? Oh, no need. We're keeping it open. Great. All in favor of keeping the public hearing open, please say aye.
Aye.
And voice vote on holding on this project as well. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed to holding or abstaining? Just want to be sure we hear all voices. Okay, thank you. We will see you again.
Thank you very
I
much.
hope
Have a
you
great
can
day.
take our comments in the spirit of positive.
We will.
assistance.
We absolutely will. Thank you.
The public hearing in this meeting is adjourned.